Guess who got brands talking? Brandlife.co.za.
Good afternoon and welcome to Love and Relationship. Today I'm here with a guest, Nadia Pretorius. Nadia, can you say hi to the people?
Good afternoon.
And Nadia is here today with us. Today we have an exciting topic to discuss. We're looking at ways of showing love to one another. We're looking at ways which couples can show love in marriage. And before I go into what we have to discuss today, I would like to ask Nadia to tell us a bit about herself, what she does. I mean, we get to know her, and then so we can know from the perspective she will be sharing with us. Please.
First, I would like to say thank you so much for the opportunity of being here today. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm a pastor and an evangelist. I am a founder of a foundation called the BI Foundation.
Okay.
I run a nursery school in the West Rand area called the BI Nursery School. And I also facilitate parenting classes called Parent Effectiveness Training.
Wow, that's great. So we have a lot of, Nadia is a well of wisdom here. And I believe that we will learn a lot from what she has to offer today. Today, I want to start by, saying that one of the things I've discovered in marriage is that some couples keep love in their heart without their partners knowing about the love they have. And, sometimes you find out that, when there is an issue and couples are fighting or there's a misunderstanding, you find the other couple said, I have loved you so much and you did this to me. And the other one is like, when did you love me so much? I mean, I haven't seen anything. I've not experienced the love. So today we want to look at how couples can show love, because I've said here before that love is an action word. It's not something that you say, I love, but the other person can experience it, can see anything. In fact, sometimes the other person is seeing the opposite of love. So couples need to learn how to show this love and not just show it once a month. I know some couples are they only get ready for Valentine's Day, and they say, on the 14th. I mean, who survives love once in a year? I mean, that is something else. So we want to look at how couples can show love to one another daily, because love is something that we need to experience every day. So I will be, asking some few questions. But before then, I also want to let the people know there is a passage here in the Bible I saw that really has some points I want to pick out. In 1 Peter 3:8-9, it says, so all of you should live together in peace. Try to understand each other. Love each other like brothers and sisters. Be kind and humble. Don't do wrong to anyone to pay them back for doing wrong to you. Or don't insult anyone to pay them back for insulting you, but ask God to bless them. So I see some points here that can, couples can use to show love to one another. But before we go into this point, I want to ask you, how can a man show love to his wife? I mean, like you speak from the perspective of a woman. I mean, what are the things you could expect, your husband to do to show love to you, or you could advise men to do to show love to their wives in practical terms? Because sometimes men are clueless. They say, I've done this, she's still angry. I've done this, she's still angry. What must I do? Kill myself? So I think you can help some men here today. I mean, little, big things, whatever it is, just some few men things that women would like to see as a show of love. You can help us here.
Yeah, sure. Well, in my personal life, marriage is something very close to my heart, as I am married, and it's something that's very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very important to me as my mom got divorced twice.
Wow.
With me in the home. So when I got married, it was something very serious and very, very close to my heart. So I really wanted to make it work.
Okay. Wow.
And I struggled to to grasp what marriage was all about, because it's definitely not what we see in the movies. Right?
It's not. The movies
it's definitely
are
not
deceptive. Yeah.
So I started reading all these books about marriages and how to get the magic going, because I really wanted a magical marriage, something that was very special and different. And I noticed that all my attempts were falling on deaf ears.
Wow. Okay.
So I did a lot of research and read a lot of books, and the one book I read was called The 5 Love Languages.
Okay, that's a nice book too.
Yes, and in that book there's a lot of practical ways that you can show your spouse that you love him or her. So when I started practicing what the book said, it still didn't really have any effect, because the book says, give and you will receive, right?
Okay.
So if you speak your husband's love language, then he will have so much love in him, because you're pouring it, then he will give it to you.
Give it to you.
and that wasn't the case at all.
Okay.
So what I really noticed was the most effective way to receive love in your marriage is to communicate your needs to your partner.
Very
but
good.
to communicate it in an effective way.
That's very
because
good.
Because if you say, you don't love me, you're giving a you message.
Okay.
Which is blaming him and causing him to feel negative feelings,
guilty and all that. It's like you've already sentenced him. Yeah.
Yes. So I've noticed when you put the word I in front of a sentence, you give an I message, and you communicate in a way of saying, I need this.
Okay.
So you're not blaming or accusing anybody of anything.
Okay.
You're just communicating your feelings and your needs. And I found that a very effective way.
Wow.
If women could communicate effectively what their needs are, then their husbands will
follow through.
Will follow through.
Wow. Okay, that's very interesting. Because in one of my books, I spoke about effective communication, and effective communication in a sense that I try to help people understand that it's not what you say that matters, it's how you say it. Because, when you don't know how to say something properly, you wouldn't get what you want. So, in other words, I've said to people, just like we plan our thoughts, we plan things that we really want to achieve, we should also learn to plan our words. You want to get your husband or your wife to do something that is good, but maybe he or she doesn't see it that way at that time. You need to plan something. You need to, make the person willing. Not force the person. Because where couples get angry, where people get angry is when you try to force them to do something. Yes. So, like what you're saying is that, the ladies need to know how to communicate their needs. Because I see that a lot of times, women want the men to figure out, like the Holy Spirit, figure out what is in their hearts, pick it up, and then just help them solve it. It reminds me of a king who had a dream. In the Bible, and in the dream, he forgot the dream. So now he's calling his magicians and everyone to now tell him what his dream was and give him the interpretation of the dream. What a thing. And only God could do that.
Yes.
But yes, God did it. I mean, he used one of his people and did that. But in this sense, I mean, the man he may not be that closer to God to hear everything and do it. So women, please, you have to communicate. We have to share our thoughts together. And also we will be looking at this 5 ways of showing love, and we want to look at the first one. Says be kind. I'm trying to understand, how can people show kindness in marriage? I mean, are there practical ways we can show kindness? I mean, how do you suggest that people can show kindness to their partners?
Well, I believe when you get married that your spouse should be the most important person in your life.
That's true.
And when we treat our spouses like the most important person in your life,
yes.
Remember, the most important person in your life, here's everything first. Here's your dreams. Here's your ambitions. Here's your feelings, your thoughts. So when you treat your spouse as the most important person in your life, you will treat your spouse with kindness. You will do kind things towards your spouse because he or she is the most important person in your life.
So you will show understanding. Yes, and you will show care. Sometimes I think that one of the greatest challenges is to understand. One of the greatest challenges is to understand how to sacrifice, for your spouse, because I believe that kindness is also understanding how to sacrifice, is to show compassion, to show mercy, and to treat your spouse as the most important person, in your life, like you said. I always say to people, until you come to a point where you see your spouse as the best person for you, you will not be able to enjoy your marriage. In fact, you will not be able to even show kindness. You won't be able to show that compassion and mercy. So we need to come to that point, like what you're saying, to see the spouse as the most important person, the best person for you. The best person. I believe that, especially if you had prayed about this, if you know that this is a gift from God, you should believe it's the best. Except you did your own manipulative ways to get the spouse, then maybe it's your own gift. But if it's something you prayed about, you ask God to help you, then I believe it's from God. And if it's from God, it must be the best. But the thing is that, you see, the best does not always mean that the thing is a ready-made. It's already packaged with everything. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of people jump out of marriage, because they expect that their spouses are ready-made. Everything is fixed. So I'm just going into a man who is complete, who knows how not to be angry, who knows how to have self-control, who knows how to smile even when he's angry. No. We are all humans here. So in other words, I believe that marriage is what you make out of it. I always say to people, I've mentioned in my book, Living as One, I said marriage is like a virgin garden that God has given us to plant what we want to harvest from it, to cultivate what we want. So in other words, the two people involved have to do something. We have to plant, we have to invest in it, we have to put in, and then trust God that we will get what we want. So now I would like to go on a quick break before we come back to share, to continue with the discussion and then answer some few more questions. Please stay tuned.
Dramatic Talk with myself, Bongani Drama. Bringing you insightful conversations on the Convo Corner, your latest celebrity news on Dramatainment, and your latest fashion news on Stash and Fade.
This is Bongani.
And myself, Rose Rataka, bringing you your latest news and sports updates.
Every Wednesdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Only on www.brandlive.co.za.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. brandlive.co.za.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Love and Relationship. I'm still here in the studio with Nadia Pretorius. It's been an exciting show, and we're trying to talk about the practical ways of showing love to one another in marriage. Not just keeping love in your heart, not just feeling it alone, but your spouse should also feel it and experience it. And before we came into the studio, we're talking with a brother, Frank, and then he mentioned something, and that got me thinking that, some spouses know that their partners love them, but they don't believe it. So it takes, what we practice daily at home to make your partner believe that you truly love. And we're looking at some, guidance here to how to show love. And we read a scripture here in 1 Peter 3:8-9. It shows some practical ways of how to show love. I want to look at the first two statements there. It says, so all of you should live together in peace. Try to understand each other. Those are very powerful statements. Peace and understanding of each other. I mean, sometimes I try to understand. I wish I could just know 2-3 things that we could do to have peace in our relationship. I don't know. I would like to ask Nadia. I mean, how do couples sustain peace in their relationship? Is it that one person should be a moron, just stupid, quiet, and then the other one? Because I heard someone said to me, is it for there to be a happy marriage, one person has to be foolish, one person has to tolerate everything, and the other person has to have his way or her way in everything. So I don't know. Do you think that is what we need to have a peaceful marriage? I mean, how can couples sustain peace in their marriage? Just if you have some suggestions there.
Yes, definitely. I think I still have to come back to effective communication.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So there's many challenges in a marriage, especially if you have children.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that happen in a home. If you have small children, you sleep a little and you can be overtired and frustrated. So there's lots of aspects. If you have stress at work and you're facing financial difficulties, it's very difficult to deal with all these emotions and have peace at home. So if you know how to effectively communicate with your partner, you will communicate these frustrations and these feelings with your partner and say, this is how I feel, this is what I'm experiencing at the moment, and it's very, very difficult for me to come home and then the food is not cooked. The dogs haven't been fed. The bath water's not run. My clothes are
Thank
not
God for
ironed.
those who don't have dogs.
You see. So it's very, very important that you communicate your frustrations and your feelings with your partner so that they know what you're going through, so that they can be kind and prepare things for you at home.
That's true.
Try and assist you to work through these feelings that you are feeling.
Wow.
And then there are so many solutions to problems. There are many problems. We all face problems every day, but if you know that every problem has a solution,
Yes.
and if you work with your partner and you find solutions for your problems, create a win-win situation, something that could work for the both of you. So not someone being the boss and saying this is how things are going to work, because I'm the man of the house, so this is how I want things.
Okay.
So if you can discuss things like, I would like the children to be bathed at 7 o'clock. What, how do you feel about it? Even involve the children. Ask them, how do they feel about bathing? So that at 7 o'clock at night we can all sit together in front of the television and switch off for the day and have some quality time. So I really I have to emphasize that effective communication is key.
Very important. That is true. I believe that with communication a lot of things can be fixed. And I see another point here that says try to understand each other. Even God knows that it will not be easy to understand each other, and it translates in that passage, try to understand each other. And sometimes I think, if partners could put themselves in each other's shoes in situations, I think it will be easier to understand each other, because now the wife is talking, and it's like, what is she talking about? There's some things that my wife really, really wants, and I wonder, what does she want this for? But I came to understand that I'm thinking like a man. What is important to me as a man is not important to her as a woman. So when we come to a point where we try to understand each other, we try to understand each other by putting ourselves in the other person's shoes and saying, okay, if this thing means something to this person, then I have to try and do it. You don't wait till the person fights you for it. So it's very important if couples can try to understand each other. And men, a man wrote a book. What was it? Is it like Think Like a Woman, or, something like that? I've forgotten by Steve Harvey, where he's trying to say the men should, feel, and then the women should think, where we can try to put ourselves there and reason together. So, I don't know if you have some points to talk about how couples can understand each other. Because sometimes we communicate. I think another thing is that some people don't listen.
I think listening is a very, very important aspect. So I think when we hear, but we don't listen, and we don't feel our partner's feelings. We hear what they're saying, but we're not listening. And I think what you're trying to say is we should have empathy with each other. Put yourself in your partner's shoes for just that moment, and try and hear the feeling behind what the person is saying. Try and hear what feeling is driving what the person is saying.
That's
and
true.
then you'll have some understanding. And I think what's also very important is that we accept each other. That we stop trying to change each other.
That's true.
Because we have expectations of our spouses. We sometimes want them to be a certain way. We expect them to be a certain way, and they can't. They can't be that. So if we can just accept them, we don't necessarily have to accept their behavior, but we can accept who they are, and we can accept what they're feeling about a specific object.
And do you think that if men had their way, or women had their way, they will change their spouse to just feel? If a woman had her way, will she want to change her husband to feel like a woman, to just be like a woman? I mean, in feeling and all that. And do you think also if men had their way, they would want to change their wives to think like a man? Because you see, like what you're saying, it shows that, we are created by God differently.
Yes.
And then our differences have their functions. They have the purpose. If a woman were to think, just reason like men, just straight and all that without feelings, I think it will not really work out well, at the end. If the man too, the other way. But I always think that sometimes maybe the other person could want to force the other person to do things like he is doing, or like she is doing.
Yes.
I don't think that would be right.
No. I watched a video a while back explaining how women and men are created differently. And it showed that men actually have boxes. They have a work box, and they have a sport box, and they actually have a nothing box.
Okay.
They can actually sit in front of the television and just stare ahead, and if you say, "What are you thinking about?" they say, "Nothing." And they're literally thinking about nothing, which is quite interesting. So I really enjoyed that video. It was really impressive. And women have wires, and they're all connected together, and they go like view, 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 view. And they literally, everything is connected.
So even
to
the
everything.
spots is connected with the other one. Everything the
is
wires
connected.
are okay. I see.
So it is very complicated. But I'm not saying men should think like women to understand them. They should just accept them.
Yeah, that is true.
They should just
Acceptance,
accept who
and
they
allow
are,
them to be
and
women.
allow them to be women, because we are
Interesting.
very, very different.
And very unique too.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. So I just hope that the people listening out there, that you allow your wife, if you're a man, to be a woman. Celebrate with her. Women, they like things that we men sometimes we wonder. She wants the new clothes. She wants to look nice. She wants your comments. Little things that matter in marriage. Having been married for this number of years, I don't take anything for granted. I'm telling you, I don't see anything as being small to pay attention to or not. I have taken everything the same. My wife says, "Oh, can I talk to you now?" I say, "Okay, fine, let's talk. Except I'm so busy. Okay, please give me 5 minutes." She wants to speak about this thing. Okay, let's talk about the book. I mean, because, you don't know what matters to the person. So listening helps you to know what is important to the person.
Definitely.
And to work with what is important. Because when you meet people's need, because what is important is like the need, not the want.
Yes.
When you meet people's need, then they are happy. And they can also give back to you. So really, we are really talking about something very practical and exciting here. I don't know, because of time, I think we will have to wrap up things. But before we do that, I would just like to mention one other thing that we can also apply in marriage. According to that place which I read, and I will suspend the other ones till the next show, which not the coming Monday, the upper Monday, we will continue this discussion. I want to talk about, humility, because I see that pride also is one of the things that could, challenge relationship.
Definitely.
Where people don't admit their mistakes. People always blaming, pointing finger. That place we read says, be humble. Be humble, So how do you relate with that? I mean, what could make people proud that they cannot admit to their mistakes? They cannot work with their spouse properly.
I think we all have a different set of values, and we all come from different backgrounds and come from different homes where things were dealt with in a different way.
Okay, I see.
And I think all of us have a hole in our soul somewhere. Somehow we were damaged, right? And I think pride is a way of making sure you don't get hurt.
Okay, protecting yourself. Okay, I see.
Yes. So I think if you are in a relationship where there's a lot of pride, I always look at my marriage and think of my husband, and I try and look at him through the eyes of God and have grace with him, because I know where I came from, and I know how difficult I can be.
You can be, yeah.
And I always try and humble myself and put myself in his shoes and accept him for who he is, and have grace.
Yes.
In our relationship.
Yes.
Because pride, I think, is a huge problem that causes
a big problem.
That causes a lot of brokenness in relationships.
It is. I believe that some people have broken up not because there was a big issue that happened, but because the people involved, one or both of them, were so proud not to admit their mistakes or not to say, I'm sorry. A word like I'm sorry out of a sincere heart can change a lot of things.
Definitely.
So humility is a very important factor in having an enjoyable marriage. And with humility, you can show love properly to your spouse.
Definitely.
So listeners, we will be wrapping up here today, and we will be back here same time next week, Monday, 1 p.m. Please tune in. I want to thank my guest today, Nadia Pretorius. Thank you very much for coming through. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Definitely.
So don't disappear for so long.
I won't.
So
Thank
please,
you.
for more info, you can go to www.brandlive.co.za. You can view the YouTube. You can listen to the podcast. You can also get into www.livingasoneevents.com. And you can drop us your email at akandon@yahoo.com. Sorry, akandon@yahoo.com. Please, we look forward to hearing from you. Let us know how this has blessed you and how it has impacted your life. See you again next week. Thank you.